So the summer arc is finally fucking over. God may exist after all. And looks like Jamie is in fact going after John. Like full-scale warfare. But maybe not for the reasons that we might think. As you guys know, I wasn't as kind to the last episode as you guys were.
Yep.
I do think this was a better episode. And now we're finally starting to see the wheels fall off, I think, leading up to next week's episode, which is the mid-season finale.
Yep.
And we're starting to see John's shortcomings in that he's a little too set in his ways.
I mean, he has got to be the worst governor in the history of governors.
Not just governor, but Beth tells him straight up.
You are not a businessman, Daddy. You are a rancher.
And his refusal to evolve with the times is now potentially going to cost him his livelihood and his empire and basically everything he's fought for this whole fucking series and his whole life.
Well, I mean, let's start with that then.
Yeah.
Because there's a bit of a plot hole from the last season.
Really? You think so?
You guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. So we all know season 4, they came across, well, they've always been dealing with these financial crises throughout the show. But this one was a complete plot hole from season 4, that being the show horses that they invested millions of dollars into that we have heard nothing about after the fact. And that was supposed to be the new business model. We even saw Jimmy cashing big ass checks and all this, and now, okay, just another plot hole.
I thought about that a little bit, and I guess last season when they did the show horse thing, I think, at least I remember they were pretty clear that it was like a trial thing. Like they were trying to make turn a profit for the ranch.
Well, he wanted to make his mark in the horsing industry by making cutting horses that are wanted the world around.
Right.
It was never really specifically about the horses. Like, yeah, of course, they have been looking for a way to just make a profit. And I think that was the way. It wasn't like John has a specific love for show horses. And he's like, this is
not
dream.
at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it was working and there was no.
Right. Yeah.
Now it's just another financial crisis and we heard nothing else about.
Maybe we're just left to assume that it was just another failed effort because, you know, one of the running themes of the show has been the fact that they are not profitable. And John is beating a dead horse in that he's trying to maintain this business model that Beth clearly says is like that business model worked 100 years ago. Oh, he says that business model's worked for hundreds of years, Beth. And she's like, well, it doesn't fucking work anymore. He's just so persistent to like preserve this ranch and his family's legacy, yet is just seemingly unwilling to do anything that steps outside of what he traditionally knows. And I guess it makes sense because change is uncomfortable for people generally. And that would be a big change. But and they have this conversation too. Beth says, like, I've made hundreds of millions of dollars for other people. Like, let me do it for us now. With her by his side, I think they'll be successful. So what she does is she calls the Quad 6 ranch, finds out that they're selling beef on their website. And
who knew you could sell beef when you raise cattle?
Right.
They never thought about this.
I mean, this is a relatively new thing, somewhat, Marvin, like in the beef industry, because you have people that raise cattle and then you have the meat packing industry that services it and delivers it. And then you have retail and restaurants that sell it.
Mm-hmm.
So it is separate from itself, but it's a rather new phenomenon. Like Taylor Sheridan himself, when he bought the Quad 6 ranch, like they weren't selling their beef. And like, if you go to that website right now, it says
it's a real website.
Like they're going to start selling beef from that ranch. And so like, this is something that we're seeing in reality and in the show, but
I didn't know that, but as you're talking about it, I'm kind of connecting the dots in my head. The narrative of this season has very much been focused on Summer, like a large chunk of it. And the fact that she assumes that they mistreat the animals, they mistreat the cattle, they do all stuff, which to her credit, is not outlandish to assume, because the mass producing like cattle places that have them on a fucking assembly line, they fucking shoot them in the fucking head
like
with
slaughterhouse.
Slaughterhouses. Let's call it that. But like, they come through the fucking assembly line, they get fucking shot in the head with the air gun, and then sent down for butchering.
Yeah.
Or
slaughterhouse is part of meat packing, which is separate from raising cattle.
Yeah.
What the Duttons do is they raise the cattle and then they auction it off. And after it's auctioned, it goes to a slaughterhouse. So they don't touch it. They don't see it. They don't have anything to do with it.
No, I understand. But let me finish my thought, because so a lot of those places do have very terrible and inhumane practices of how they raise them and stuff. Veal is questionable at best. The fucking cattle are born into like darkness and hung from a hook, so they never develop any like muscle density. The super condensed population of cattle in some of these places, research suggests, contributes to climate change, just all the methane in one place. So it's bad for like groundwater. So basically the point I was getting at is Summer is not wrong for assuming that all places mistreat the animals. She's clearly seeing here that they don't. So again, hearing Dusty talk about what Taylor Sheridan's plan in real life is for the Quad Six is to start producing beef. It's actually, when you think about it, it could become a great thing if ranches that raise cattle eventually start to butcher and sell the beef rather than the cattle, because it's quality controlled in one place. If they raise and take care of the cattle to keep healthy cattle, it just stands to reason that they would also do the killing humanely as well.
I wonder if they'll cover this, because part of the problem is the meat packing industry, the slaughterhouses stuff, has been, just like every other industry, condensed to just 2 or 3 or 4 major corporations, such that it struggled for these ranchers, to slaughter it all and package it all and sell it all is hard to do when you have to outsource it all.
Yeah, so, and of course, when corpos get involved, their bottom line is profit, so they're going to do as little as humanly possible to turn the most profit with the least amount of effort. So in real life, that would be great if more places start to do what you described. But in the show, Beth was pretty shocked when she was talking to the Quad Six Ranch at how much money they've made by doing this, just selling meat on a website, as she says.
You sell out?
Yes, ma'am.
How many pounds of beef do you raise?
This year, a little over 8 million.
So the Duttons have been in the business of selling the cattle at a very low price. I forget the exact numbers, but he's talking to her about it, and it's really nothing when they could be fucking
$150 a pound, he said.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it was like $1.50 a pound. Yeah.
So when they could be doing everything themselves,
$20 a pound for a steak,
right? And I think John said, I think what he was talking about, he says nobody's been able to figure out. I forget what the packer, and I guess that's how to pack the meat.
Yeah, that's right. That's the problem, and this is why like a company like Walmart was so successful, because they figured out their own distribution. They didn't need a middle guy. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, like me growing up, I do remember like dudes would show up to your door, knocking your door, and be like, "Hey, you want to buy some steaks?" Like they would go to a local meat distributor and put a freezer in the back of their pickup truck and drive around with steaks and be like, "Hey, I'll sell you a box of steaks for $20.
Yeah.
Like, that's a pretty good deal. So it's all about the distributors and the meat packing, which is interesting why we don't have this. It's just now starting to blossom out where these big ranches are thinking about doing this.
He talked about replacing the cattle is okay, but
100 years.
Replacing 100 years of genetics is the hard part.
Yeah.
And they still didn't really describe exactly how they're going to save the cattle. They're just going to move it so that it doesn't get killed by the state. Like, is that the whole reason for moving it?
Well, so let's talk about that. So a big happening in this episode was the gang, while they're out there moving the cattle, they discover a potential brucellosis outbreak. I didn't know what this was. I looked it up. Brucellosis is an infectious disease caused by bacteria. People can get the disease when they're in contact with infected animals or animal products contaminated with the bacteria. Animals that are commonly affected are cattle. Now, what they explained in the show is some of the bison came in from the park. He said spent the winter on our ranch, and they had it. So somehow they got it in the wild and then potentially
This
spread
goes
it.
back to all the mysterious dead animals that we've questioned in the season so far. It doesn't look like a wolf killed it, even though a wolf mauled it after it died.
Yep. Yep.
So
and
we have an outbreak, and it's dangerous for their
we
bottom
got
line.
So Marvin, you might be right about the zombies showing up, like you said last episode. He's like, "What are you gonna do? You gotta have zombies."
Oh no!
You're gonna have zombie fucking cattle.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna be.
Oh God, I'm choking myself. Yeah, so we potentially got this outbreak. So what their plan is, I think, it's the way I understood it, John was going to lease out some land in a warmer climate that has basically no winter, so they don't have to feed the cattle throughout the entire winter, or overfeed them, I guess is what they would do to help them sustain a super harsh winter.
Mm-hmm.
But he would have to lease out some land for like $1 million a month or some crazy shit like that, and they don't got the money for that. So I think that's what the plan was. They're gonna, what would happen is, he says the state, if one cattle is infected, they'll kill the whole.
So
the whole herd.
He's circumventing the rules of.
I think he's trying to circumvent the rules, but also quarantine them, kind of, because they didn't
splitting up the herd into multiple different locations, such that if one test, it doesn't kill the whole bloodline. Some of them might be safe.
Found something you're going to want to see.
We found it too.
Can cattle get it?
Yes, cattle can get it.
Well, how can you tell?
Well, we'll test them for it. If one cow has it, the state destroys the whole herd.
They didn't really confirm this episode if any of their cattle tested positive, as far as I remember. I don't think they went that
well.
far.
But going back earlier in the season, the cows that the wolves were eating on,
were theirs. So you could assume
technically could be infected. We can assume that.
Do you think they would confirm it if they're gonna send off 5 major key characters for a whole fucking year? But
well, I mean,
maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe they don't get sent away.
Another big part of this episode involved our boy Thomas Rainwater. And he's still dealing with the fallout of having the president show up. And as predicted, he finds out from Senator Linnell Perry, no longer governor.
Mm-hmm.
She tells Rainwater that, the president and internal whatever, decided they're running 2 pipelines through your shit.
Not 1.
Yeah, 2.
2. Right through the water supply.
Deuces, right through their fucking water supply.
Up.
One's, I think she said, a natural gas pipeline, and the other was
some kind of carbon, captured carbon or something. I forgot what she said.
And of course, as we know, native land is never really given any consideration in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
never was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Rainwater has a conversation with Linnell that, like, well, where the fuck is John? Like, he's the governor. He needs to. And she basically says, like, he's fucking doing ranching shit.
Be good to have the governor there.
Well, governor's playing hooky. Branding cattle.
It's not what he was elected to do.
Well, he did what he was elected to do. That's the way John sees it anyway.
He's our governor, too. Perhaps you could remind him of that.
I do see this becoming a states' rights versus the federal government, where Rainwater and Dutton team up together to fight
the federal government.
Because this is setting up to be where market equities is going to the federal government side. They're bringing in, they're not really.
They're already trying to bankrupt Montana, essentially.
Well, we mentioned it last episode.
What was her name?
Sarah.
She said, if you go against, they're trying to do some type of lawsuit or something regarding that contract, where it's going to put Montana like $4 billion in debt, which is like, she said, it's like 10% of the fucking GDP or some shit.
She said, we're going to basically fight the legal battle in New York with hotshot lawyers, and you're going to lose. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. I definitely think you're right. They're going to work together to go after the federal government. And last episode when we spoke, I think we joked about the possibility of market equities juicing the pockets of some politicians. Well, that was confirmed this episode, because Sarah says to Jamie that they have a PAC. And a PAC is, as we know, those are the things that fund political campaigns. And that's the way our politics works, which blows. Speaking of Sarah, she's fucking like fucking Emperor Palpatine in this bitch. She's
whispering all the things.
Yeah, she's like massaging Jamie's shoulders, like telling him everything he wants to hear. Yeah, dude, I'll make you governor.
Get my land back.
Yeah.
Jamie.
I'm surprised market equities didn't know about the conservation easement. That was weird to me.
I have a question about that, but before I have a joke, Jamie's about to go slaughter a bunch of fucking Padawans next episode. He's fully fucked in the head. Now, but here's the thing. Okay, so when Sarah and the fucking corpse guy are meeting with Jamie in his office, and they're like, "Oh, did you know your father fucking put this land in a conservation easement?" And he's like, "I had no idea." Didn't he know? Wasn't
another fucking plot hole?
This confused me a lot.
But hang on, wasn't he the one that advised against it, or was that Beth?
He fucking knew, but maybe he was. Like, again, he could be playing 4D chess and making them think, "Oh, I had no idea."
That's what I thought. But then, hang on. But then the other part of me couldn't remember. I know he advised John against it, but maybe he didn't know that he actually went ahead with it. But then I thought a little bit further. He would have to know because he's the fucking district attorney. He would have to sign the shit.
He's too busy fucking. He don't know nothing.
Didn't market equities already know? Like the old lady with the white hair, like
I thought
that's what
knew.
I'm saying, dude.
How would they be confused and surprised in a meeting with an AG of something that everybody already knew and everybody's acting surprised about it? That whole scene, I was like, wait, what the fuck did I just watch?
Made no sense.
What?
The lady who got fucking kicked back to New York, she for sure knew about it because she was flipping out about it.
Yeah.
So
she basically got fired because of it. It's what we can assume.
So going back to my intro when I said maybe Jamie seems like he's going after John, but maybe not in the way we think. Perhaps market equities is trying to make Jamie think that they didn't know about this easement.
Yeah.
And Jamie's trying to make them think that he didn't know about the conservation easement, neither party knowing that they both knew.
Jamie is trying to piggyback market equity to defeat his dad and them at the same time so that he can be the king.
The supreme ruler.
Yeah.
He's going to take over the galaxy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys watched the preview for the next episode.
I did not.
I did. And it starts off with Jamie saying he's bloody and beaten. He's got a bloody head, bloody nose. And in the foreground is very out of focus what looks like a blonde-haired chick. So I'm guessing Beth beat the shit out of him.
Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
But he says, the greatest threat to that ranch is our father, so I will remove that threat. Now, that's a preview for maybe next episode or down the road in the season. However, in this week's episode, he's talking to Sarah early on, and he says, I was raised to be a cowboy. It's all I knew. My father wanted me to be something that I didn't want to be. He fucking applied me to Harvard without my knowledge. Who the fuck knows who wrote the admission letter? Probably Beth, Sarah says. He goes, I never thought of that. He wants to be a cowboy. He grew up wanting to protect the ranch just as much as Casey and Beth and John. So again, I think there's enough evidence to support my theory that Jamie is not doing normal Jamie shit. I think he's playing some hard chess here, and he's really just actually trying to protect the ranch, recognizing that John is being very self-destructive.
That's probably most likely. I mean, I'm also here for the villain, Jamie. Someone's got to take out the Dutton Avengers because we were sick of it.
Maybe Sarah's Thanos.
We need actual crisis now, okay? Enough of this play crisis that we've been getting.
Sarah might be Thanos, but this was a more typical Yellowstone episode that I enjoy. You get a little bit of everything. You got some good music throughout the episode. You get some nice fucking romance going on. Some hard decisions.
Some breakups.
Yep, some potential breakups.
We got a breakup.
This episode opened. We get confirmation. Rip was always a fucking badass. Not that was ever a question, but
killed a man.
He fucking kills a man to stick up to White Knight Beth.
Yep.
And not only does he kill a man, bludgeons him to death with a rock or near death. Tries to help the guy and was like, "Hey, fucking next time,
do it.
Yeah, next time, don't fucking bring a knife to a fist fight." And when this guy is clearly fucking puking and he's all fucked up, he goes to get John, and the guy who's beaten says, tell the boss that I fell off a horse and got trampled. Not Rip.
Nope.
He's honorable. He told Dutton
is.
the truth, and John's like, well, why the fuck did you tell me that? And he's like, because you told me never to lie to you, sir. So we get a nice little origin story about how Rip became a fucking Dutton Ranch lifer and got that fucking brand on his chest.
That brand, yep. So
that was cool to see. There was a nice scene between Beth and Monica where Beth opens up to her about her unfortunate incident with being
sterilization,
getting a hysterectomy, basically.
Yeah.
Not basically, that is what happened. And it was a nice little conversation, and it was nice to see Beth sort of be a human being for once.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, it was like Beth is trying to compare getting an abortion willingly to losing a child. Like,
well, it's not the abortion.
A tragic event. I know, but then I thought about it more, and she's just sympathizing with Monica since they both experienced something tragic that was like unwanted.
Traumatic.
Monica seems to be like the only person that Beth respects, like fully.
Because she knows she's not a threat. She said it pretty much
right.
clear as day right there. You're not a threat to me
and she knows,
or my family.
Yeah, and she knows Casey loves her. So that's cool. Made me think a little bit too. Gave me that fucking brain worm. Is like, are they queuing up a Beth death? Like, we still got that big character death like looming.
Right. Well, and she's warming up to Summer. Like she's, trying to explain to her what, she explained to Monica. If you're not a threat to me or the ranch, then we're cool.
I just have a really hard time believing that they would kill her off. She's such a big character. Obviously she's going to be a big part of this like business reformation in terms of their business model.
Yeah. Until next season when it's another financial crisis. And we just we never know what happened with the beef selling.
Yeah, right.
I still think we see Beth lose it. She's
possible.
gonna. I mean, Jamie's bloody and beaten, and she's gonna. She still is upset at him because he has a son, and she wants to take that away from him.
Yeah.
I think she still crashes. Like, I don't know if it happens this episode or next, but I think it's still coming.
No, for sure. But what I was saying is, like, in terms of who's gonna die, like, unless he was lying, which I don't think he was, we have a big character death that we should be expecting. My gut tells me it's probably gonna be Jamie. That's just what my gut says, and he's gonna go out like a G, like doing the right thing for the ranch. How he dies, I don't know. That's it. There's been no indication that there'd be any violence going on this episode, so that'll be interesting. And I don't think they would kill off Beth. I think she's too big of a character. It'd be like killing fucking, Rick in fucking Walking Dead. Or
I think they could actually let Beth go now. I feel like she's on her way out already. As far as like she's on the downward spiral.
Yeah.
She's lost everything. She's got no power really anymore. So I feel like she can go.
All right, that's interesting. I think
if it was a Facebook meme and they was like one gotta go, I'm picking Beth out of the rest of the
even
Duttons.
if they
Fair enough.
write her down, I think her spark of spontaneity in the show is refreshing, and I would hate to see her gone completely.
Real quick before we wrap up, I just wanted to rattle off a couple of funny moments that happened this episode. Like I said, this episode had a little bit of everything. There was some comedy, there was some good stuff.
It's good.
Teeter, my girl Teeter. This episode was fucking hilarious.
Still can't understand her.
I want that fucking bar. She wanted this big stuffed bear at the town fair that they went to.
Fuck yeah, baby! Mama gonna be so good tonight. With you, there's kids around.
Give me my bar.
She goes, you get it in the hole all the time at home. Just do it like home, baby. Mama gonna be so good tonight. And the other thing that I like too is like everybody who's going to Texas or wherever they're going. I think they said South Texas or something.
I think they did say that.
They're like
Texas one place, Colorado was another place, and I think New Mexico may have been another. He named off a couple different places.
They're like down to go. And towards the end of the episode, our boy Ryan has a bit of a breakup moment with the girl he's been seeing, the singer. She's mad that he's going away for potentially a year, and he's like, "Listen, do you sing in the shower?" She's like, "Yeah, of course." He's like, "Okay, so this is what that is to me. Like, I'm a cowboy. Yeah. This is what cowboys live to do." And he explains that to her.
Your purpose in life is singing. My purpose in life is cowboying.
Yeah, and this is like the Super Bowl of cowboying, keeping these cattle alive. doing what I got to do to protect them. And then there was another line about that too. Walker said, we're going to do some cowboy shit now. Keep your bunkhouse and cable TV. So like, they're all just like super psyched to go like live in teepees for fucking a year or so. So I thought that was kind of cool. But
he didn't give a fuck about his girl.
Nah, he don't give a fuck at all. Yeah, he's got his guitar. That's all he needs, baby.
Yeah.
Guitar and a fire. But yeah, no. Again, I think this was a much better episode. Excited to see the mid-season finale. I think I hate that they're doing a mid-season finale. I don't know why they're doing it. I hate that fucking business model.
Yeah, I don't like that
from TV. Let us know in the comments, folks, what you thought of this episode of Yellowstone. This was episode 7. The Dream Is Not Me. You can click on that playlist over there to see our thoughts on the previous episodes in the season, and hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already, if you enjoyed the content. And we'll catch you in the next one.
See ya.
Asta.